how much of a lock is this guy to be the #1 quarterback?
Yeah, tanking for Tua. Miami had the 5th pick, not the 1st pick. Tua didn't go 1, he went 5. So I don't really get into all that, Mal. I think when you look at where Trevor is right now on the board, he's #1 for a reason. He's had really an outstanding start to his career. Now, he didn't finish last season strong. That was the issue. Ohio State game, now granted, when he got hit by Sean Wade was ejected. Hey, he rallied him. LSU game, he struggled, 48% completion percentage. But I think you look at Trevor, he's there because of his body of work over 2 years. But don't forget the Alabama game and what happened late that freshman year when he was outstanding. So this notion you can't beat the big boys, well, you already did it as a freshman. Well, this year is going to be important to maintain that spot because you got a major challenger in Justin Fields from Ohio State.
I'm interested in knowing, Mel, when you think about Trevor Lawrence and the stature that you're giving him, I'm impressed because his record speaks for itself. And I was impressed with the mobility that he showed, particularly at some points in the national championship game and throughout the regular season as well. He can run with the football, and I give credit where credit is due in that regard. My question to you is he a clear-cut #1 guy in all of our minds because his talent is surreal enough to be that way? Or is it because there's really no one to speak of that we would consider legitimate competition to him as a legitimate quarterback on the next level?
Good question, because you think about high school, it was Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields vying for that top spot. And here we are, fast forward to college and the NFL, here they are again vying for the top spot. So I think they've been there for so long, Stephen A. That's who they are. They're great talents. Both are great runners. Trevor Lawrence had more rushing yards than Justin Fields. So the ability to beat you with his legs, obviously what he does as a passer. Sure, he had some struggles late. That game against LSU, he admitted, wasn't his best game. That happens, okay? I still contend Joe Burrow would have gone ahead of Trevor Lawrence if they were both in this draft. That's not a criticism of Trevor Lawrence. It's just how spectacular Joe Burrow was. Justin Fields is right there. What kind of year they're going to have? Look at the supporting cast, guys. That's the key to the equation. Guys that struggle that final year lost a lot of their players around them. I can give you a lot of names of those guys, okay? When you look at, and we talked about it with Jordan Love, we talked about it with Darnold, with Josh Allen and others, but when you look at what these guys have returning, Justin Fields doesn't have J.K. Dobbins, but Master Teague's a good back. He doesn't have 3 really good receivers, or 2 really good receivers and a third that was okay, but he's got Chris Olave, who was a spectacular player. The line, Mumford came back. So at the end, I think there's talent around him. Clemson loses T. Higgins, but Justin Ross is a really good player. Travis Etienne, running back, opted to return, but he does lose 4 starters on the offensive line. So how does it come together for these two? Will determine, obviously, who the #1 pick is, but it's not out of the question that Justin Fields could overtake Trevor Lawrence because I think it's affirmed in Alydar. Always bring up that the great battles they had in for the Triple Crown, those 2 great horses. And, affirmed always nudged out Alydar. Well, how will it happen with these two once we get to the finish line in late April of 2021? Right now, it's too close to call.
I'm shocked to hear you say that, Mel, because Trevor Lawrence, what a start to a career. I mean, you win the national championship game, you slice and dice up a great defense or a great program, really. Yeah. What doesn't he have? We just said he has mobility, he has an arm, he has the size. We saw early last year he threw an interception, made a tackle in the open field, and yet you're saying that Justin Fields, you have 3rd on your board. There's a space between these 2 guys for an offensive lineman. Justin Fields is nipping at his heels like that? There's not really that much separation?
That offensive tackle you talked about, Penei Sewell, is a spectacular player, and he will be a very high pick. I think you look at it's not a criticism of Lawrence. It's saying, hey, Justin Fields threw 3 interceptions all year. Think about that last throw where they had a chance to win that game. It wasn't his fault. Okay, receiver broke off the route. We weren't on the same page there. I think you look at Justin Fields. He wasn't even healthy in that game. Remember, with the brace, the knee, and all that. So I think this is going back to high school. They were 1-1A. They still are 1-1A. So Justin Fields' 3rd is great. Is very similar to Lawrence. Penei Sewell has an elite grade. So I think you look at that top group with Jamar Chase, the receiver at LSU, some really big-time prospects at a variety of positions. But Fields is right there. Make no mistake about it. Justin Fields, with all the touchdowns and the ability to be a dual-threat quarterback and the way he played in that first season when he was the guy and all that pressure. Lawrence has 2 years. He has 1. But after this year, we'll have 2 full years to evaluate, hopefully, Justin Fields, assuming we have a season. And I think by the time we get to late April, if things fall and come together the way we expect, boy, you're going to have a lot of discussion about these two and who really is the best quarterback in this draft.
Mel, that's where I want to stay. And obviously, this is a really complicated issue above all of our pay grades here. But What if the college football season is delayed? What if it's in the spring? Some players decide not to play. How do you see this impacting player evaluations and the draft moving forward?
Remember, there were complaints, Molly, about not having pro days and not having the medical rechecks and how are we going to draft? We should postpone it. You heard all that. And it came off fine. Thankfully, it came off perfect. Bottom line is, moving forward, if you don't have a season, you don't have Senior Bowl, All-Star games, you don't have combine workout, you don't have pro days, where's the draft? What do you do then? Now, if you have some of it, not all of it, then you just deal with it. If there's a spring football season for college, that's a completely different matter. That complicates things. You can't have a draft while you're playing college football. You're not going to draft a guy in the top group or first round or draft anybody and have him get hurt now for the year. So I don't that will have to be pushed back a little bit if, in fact, there is a spring college football season. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully it will get back to some normalcy. Hopefully. We're all hoping for that. Some think it's wishful thinking. We'll see. Bottom line is we have a lot of unknowns, Molly, but it will certainly, as you say, if we don't have the whole process or some of it, it will definitely complicate things come draft day.
Mel, when it comes to football, forgive me for asking you this question, but I don't consider anything above your pay grade. If it's football, you're qualified to answer the question and provide your thoughts. You've heard a lot of bantering back and forth about whether or not there's going to be a college football season or whether there's not going to be because of this coronavirus pandemic. I'd like to know your thoughts about what you perceive as being the possibility of a season, and do you think it's good? Like, for example, if they have a season without the fans in attendance, how, if at all, do you believe that will affect the performances of the participants on the field of play in your estimation when we're talking about collegiate football?
Tough question. If you don't play without fans, now we've had some games where not a lot of fans. Some bowl games don't have a lot of fans, but it's not zero fans. And I've always contended if you don't have kids on campus, or the students back on campus, if it's not safe enough to have them back on campus, how is it safe enough to play college football games?
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.